Proverbs chapter 16, verse 29 says, "A man of violence entices his neighbor and leads him in a way that is not good." Now, we live in a world where we've seen a lot of violence. We've seen a lot of violence recently, and very destructive violence, deadly violence, violence that has led just great deals of damage in its wake. And it's really sad to see. And it's wicked people who promote violence. It's wicked people who pursue violence. There's no righteous people that are going to pursue violence and promote violence. None who are truly righteous are going to do that. And so we recognize that it genuinely is wicked people. It's awful, despicable people that are promoting and enticing violence. I don't care who it is. I don't care what position that they have. I don't care what kind of titles they have. They are wicked, despicable, awful people that promote violence and that pursue violence and that entice others to promote violence and pursue violence. Now, when we think of violence, violence is a physical act, and it is a physical act. It's an act of causing damage to something. It's an act of whether it's property or personal. Violence is an act of hurting somebody physically or even killing somebody. And so when we look at those things, that's what violence is, right? But here we find somebody, this is a wicked person, clearly a wicked person. Righteous people do not do this. This is a person we need to stay as far away from as we possibly can. Now, when we look at this, it says, "A man of violence entices his neighbor and leads him in a way that is not good." So a man of violence who's a wicked person doesn't want to stand alone. They want to get the mob to gather around them, because the more of the brainless mob that they have around them that's not thinking on their own, they're just following this leader, right? They're following the Pied Piper. And so they're not thinking on their own. They're just following this Pied Piper. And this Pied Piper, who's the violent man, is saying, "Come follow me. I've got a great plan. I've got great goals, great dreams, great visions." And so this way is a way of violence. This is how we're going to go about doing this. These are wicked, awful, despicable people. And the people that follow them are not thinking clearly. They're not thinking on their own. In fact, they're probably not even thinking. They're just going on this emotional roller coaster and say, "Hey, let's follow this guy." But when we look at this, here's somebody that entices them, that pulls them in, entices his neighbor, pulls him in, draws them in. We need to see these people for who they are. And we need to see them and recognize them, that this person is trying to entice them. He's kind of like a con artist, kind of like a used car salesman. "You come follow me. I've got this great ideology, these great plans, and this is how we're going to go about doing it. We're going to do it with violence." That's wicked. And we need to call these people out for who they are. They're wicked. They're violent. They're vile people. And it being the used car salesman that they are, usually very charismatic people, influential people. And they're usually calling in fairly simple-minded people. And they're calling them in, "Hey, follow me in this violence." And a lot of the times, they're not actually the ones doing the violence. They're getting other people to do their dirty work so that they're not actually going to be the ones that get in trouble for it. So when we think about this, they're using these people. That's exactly what they're doing. They're using these people for their own selfish means. Kind of like cult leaders. The Bible warns us, Jesus warned us about false prophets. And we need to be aware of those false prophets, but that's kind of like what these people are. False prophets that are ungodly, wicked, vile people. That maybe are not promoting a particular religion, but an ideology that they want to promote, and they're going to do it with violence. That stands in absolute contradiction of the Word of God. Friends, godly people will have nothing to do with that. Godly people will stand totally against that. because we stand with the Prince of Peace, whose name is Jesus.